Komi is distraught with anxiety about whether or not Najimi saw her touch Tadano's hand or not. She decides to write a letter explaining the situation. However, before she can write a single thing, she has a meltdown on why she touched him in the first place. Motivated by a memory of how she believed it happened, Komi quickly jots down a letter addressed to Najimi explaining the misunderstanding. However, she shredded the letter after how shameful it sounded. The following day, Komi managed to write a letter, and before she could put it in Najimi's locker, they appeared and took the letter away from her, believing it to be a love letter. Also, Tadano greets Komi, who is so embarrassed to see him. Najimi also reads Komi's letter, which contents read that she was merely checking his pulse. At the Tadano residence, Tadano talks with his sister Hitomi about much better he feels, but is confused if Komi came over or not. Tadano has a hallucination meeting Komi in school and thanks her for it, only to get an irked reaction from her. As his sister leaves, Tadano checks his room and finds a bag of contents left by Najimi. Figuring it'd be best to ask Najimi about it, Tadano goes to school and sees them run away, crying out loud that they got a love letter. He also sees Komi nearby and greets her, and she becomes startled, and then she supposedly gives him the cold shoulder. These reactions unnerve Tadano, but he is surprised to see her ask him whether or not his cold got better. Tadano says he feels better and apologizes for yesterday. His intention in that comment was trying to deduce whether or not misstyling Komi prompted her to visit his house or not. Her response is nervous, and as they walk down the hallway, Tadano asks her what Komi did after his misstyle. Hearing this shocks her as she believes he was inquiring about her touching his hand. Flustered, Komi runs away, leaving Tadano in the lurks. Greeted by Najimi, he asks them what Komi did yesterday, and they answer she was checking his pulse. Elsewhere, Komi was in the girls' bathroom stall, wondering whether Tadano was awake or not. In the classroom, Naruse introduces himself as the handsome protagonist, but another student named Kamitani contradicts him.
I'm the dashing hero.
It's only his personal opinion. Sometimes his opinion is different than the actual plot of this story.
It's also noted that he'll provide commentary on Naruse, and he does, which Tadano notices and internally questions on what the two of them are doing. Believing that Komi is the only one who could be with him, Naruse realizes that since school started, she hasn't approached him once. At first, Naruse believes that Komi has social anxiety, but ruled that out. He then decides to approach and introduce himself to her, but is cut off by the other students and is unable to approach her. Later, with Kamitani beside him, Naruse tries to deduce why everyone tried to stop him from seeing Komi, and he figures that they were his fans. He then spots Komi in the hallway, but Ren stops him and whispers a virulent diatribe into Naruse's ear. Followed by this, Naruse is stopped by each of his classmates, Amaharu, Kishi Shinobino, and Yatano. In the end, however, Naruse considers his fans jealous of him for trying to approach Komi. On his way to the restroom, he drops his handkerchief, and Komi sees this. From there, Naruse experiences a stress attack, and in the hallway, Komi returns his dropped handkerchief. Naruse interprets this act as a way of Komi confessing her love for him and, the following day, tries to exchange numbers with Komi.
What's going on? He's giving her a chance to trade phone numbers.
However, Komi doesn't understand what and merely touches his phone and walks away in a panic. Tadano, who was also there, was explained the situation by Kamitani, and then Tadano exchanged numbers with Naruse. The homeroom teacher announces that the class would be going on a field trip soon, and an exhilarated Najimi proclaims they were born for them. After school, Komi, Najimi, and Tadano talk about their upcoming trip, what's revealed to be Kyoto. Once Tadano and Naimi are finished talking about the places they're interested in visiting, Tadano asks Komi where she's interested, and she answers it's Jinkakuji. Tadano is impressed by Komi's choice, and Komi then says she must leave for a bit, which concerns him. Afterward, the trio walked home and talked about their junior high field trips. As it turns out, Komi went to Kyoto for her trip, making it her second time there. After Najimi leaves, Tadano asks if she's alright. In turn, Komi asks what he means. Tadano replies that she's acted pretty sad since that day, but Komi claims that she's fine. Glad to hear that, Tadano still offers to lend an ear whenever she needs it. When they go their separate ways, Komi calls Tadano to confess that she's lied to him about ever going to Kyoto and tells him a story about her junior high trip. Admitting that she's scared, Tadano gives words of encouragement, which moves Komi, and she thanks him for it. The following day, when the homeroom teacher arrives and asks the students to take their seats, Komi is swarmed by her female peers to join their group for the class trip.
Let's decide on groups for our field trip. Komi! I'm in your group!
On the other hand, it's decided who will go with who will be decided by a lottery. Komi is seen off by her mother, and later meets with Tadano and Najimi at the station. The two briefly greet Komi and get on the train, and under the request of their homeroom teacher, Tadano does a head count of all of the students in their respective groups. He does this, but worries about Komi's pairing with Sasaki and Kato. To break the ice, Sasaki offers the two some Pocky, and they accept, noting how both Sasaki and her don't stand out in class. The two plan to make up for that during the field trip and allow Komi to have the best time during their trip. Finally arriving in Kyoto, the students take a bus tour, and their bus guide Ryoko Tenjoin makes a mistake or flubs in her introduction. As she continues, Najimi asks her an inappropriate question, if she has a boyfriend, and she denies the fact, so Kiarai offers to be it.
Oh, really?
Huh?
Well then I'd like to apply for the job right now.
There it is! That's the #1 awkward thing that goofy high school students say to their tour guide!
At their first destination site, a temple, Ryoko psyches herself up and tries to grab the class attention by detailing the background of the temple garden. However, all of them are more enamored by Komi than her, which frustrates her. Not wanting to give in, Ryoko tries again at the temple and quizzes the group, but this is overshadowed by Naruse's typical self. At the next old temple they visit, Ryoko discloses the background of the place, but is caught off by the students' aloof attention. After Amaharu appears wearing a Shinsengumi outfit, Ryoko changes the subject to a bit of history on the Shinsengumi. On the other hand, Ryoko is caught off by Amaharu's and the other students' idiosyncrasies. Back on the bus, Ryoko flubs on another bit of information, the Kamo River, but doesn't care as the students aren't listening to her. This changes when Ryoko sees Komi and Tadano look outside their window, following what she said. Ryoko then recalls why she became a bus tour guide in the first place and gains the confidence to continue the tour without fail, and later sees a moment between Komi and Tadano. At their hotel, Ren, Komi, Najimi, Agari, and Amaharu share a room. They soon learn it's their turn to use the bath from their teacher, and Ren plots to touch Komi during it. Waiting for Komi to get undressed, Ren gets perturbed after waiting 5 minutes, but it felt to her like it was an hour. Nene then arrives and points out that Komi, like Agari, didn't get undressed to go into the bath because of an incident in junior high. Trying to cheer up Agari, Nene offers her a towel to prevent the same incident from then, which works. Within the bathing area, Ren laments for having her view blocked by Nene and Agari. Once Nene and Komi arrive in the bath area, they prepare themselves and get in the bath. There, Ren directly asks to touch Komi's boob, and she flatly refuses. Meanwhile, Tadano, Katai, and Naruse enter their room and see that they're paired with the class delinquents who are terrified of Katai. Unaware of the delinquents' apprehensiveness toward him, Katai greets them, but they're left in shock.
Hello there. I hope we survive through the night.
Afterward, however, they grow to respect Katai in the bath area, and Naruse bonds with him by taking photos together. Soon the delinquents join in, and Tadano takes his photo-taking task seriously.
Come! Let's create the most exquisite works of art ever with Kyoto as our backdrop!
Back in their room, the girls have a pillow fight until their teacher checks up on them, and they all feign sleep. Komi, though, couldn't sleep at all.
So is everyone asleep? That's good.
The teacher allows the students to do whatever they please for the second day, and Komi is approached by her group members Kato and Sasaki. Komi greets them, and they head off rigidly and awkwardly. Later, Kato reveals that she created an itinerary for the trip and their first destination is Utopia Street, that's outside of Kyoto. On their train ride to Utopia Street, the girls talk about what they like to do, and arriving at their destination, they enjoy many rides there. Eventually, Kato claims their next destination is getting takoyaki, despite it still being morning. After they enjoy their takoyaki, they take a train to the Tadaji Temple, where Komi feeds a deer and is revered by Kato and Sasaki for how cute she looks doing it. Barely making their train back to Kyoto, Kato and Sasaki have a bit of a scuffle about their opinions of each other, and it's broken up by Komi, who shows them pictures of their time together. Back in Kyoto, Kato reveals that she intended to visit Futamaki Movie Land, but believes they should cancel it as it's getting late in the day and it'll close soon. However, Komi suggests they start running, and with Sasaki pushing Kato forward, they all run there. Afterward, Komi dresses up like a geisha, attracting an audience of people and an improv ninja troupe, who try to capture Komi. However, Komi is rescued by Sasaki, who dons an Hanya mask and, using her yo-yo, scares away the ninjas and flees the scene. Sasaki later regroups with Komi and Kato, who play along with Sasaki's antics of trying to hide that she was the Hanya yo-yo wielding girl.
I passed by someone wearing a weird mask just now.
Oh, you did? Well, someone with this great yo-yo saved Komi just now, right?
Returning to the hotel, Kato stops playing with the facade that Sasaki wasn't the Hanya at the movie park and interrogated her over it as a game of shogi. This led to Kato detailing her dream of becoming a shogi master and how she hates the disparity between male and female players. Hoping that Sasaki would finally admit it was her, Sasaki denies the fact, causing Kato to lose her cool and try to grab Sasaki's bag to prove her point. As both Sasaki and Kato scuffle over Sasaki's bag, Komi writes that she'd like to personally thank the Hanya masked individual. Furthermore, Komi points out that the scene involving the ninjas was just an act, and hearing this, Sasaki goes to use the bathroom, where she has a meltdown about how embarrassed she is. Looking at her yo-yo, Sasaki has a flashback of a group of boys criticizing her for being a girl playing with a yo-yo. Not wanting to be bound to her past, Sasaki puts on the Hanya mask and shows her yo-yo skills to the girls. By lights out, Sasaki and Kato rope Komi into their girl talk session. Kato starts things off by asking Sasaki if she has a boyfriend, and she denies having one. Sasaki then asks Kato if she has a crush, and she sheepishly answers that it's Katai, and when they ask Komi who hers is, she asks what a crush is. Despite the two knowing it's Tadano, Kato explains what a crush is to Komi. She flusteredly reveals that it's H. On the train ride home, Komi falls asleep, and Sasaki, Kato and Kato hatch a scheme where they get Tadano alone with Komi.
Help! Komi's being attacked by a ninja! You've gotta go save her!
The plan works, and in the process, Sasaki as Kato sit next to Katai. Eventually, Komi awakens and sees Tadano sitting next to her. Disconcerted by this, Komi then shows a curious Tadano some pictures taken during the trip. Soon they're joined by Najimi, and Komi asks Tadano why he took pictures of the boys back at the hotel.